Fiat's Doblo Cargo van should finally realise its potential in second generation guise. Pitched against the largest compact vans you can buy, it's hard to better when it comes to practicality and low running costs. Just as well it looks sharper too. These days, compact vans come in all shapes and sizes, and like its main rivals, Fiat can offer you plenty of choice. The smallest options being either a car-derived design based on the Punto Super Mini or the larger Fiorino, which can offer you up to 2.8 cubic metres. Sometimes though, there's no substitute for space. It's just that in pursuing it, you don't want to end up with an LCV that's so big that it's unwieldy around town and costly to run. Now the solution, says the Italian brand, is this van here, the second generation Doblo Cargo. The original, curiously styled version of this model offered little that you couldn't really get elsewhere in Citroen Berlingo and Peugeot partner class vehicles, nor did it really satisfy buyers looking for the kind of high roof extended wheelbase option that would make it a realistic compact alternative to something transit sized. Now, all that's been put right with this second generation model, a vehicle that manages to beat its contemporaries in terms of things like payload, loading volume and running costs. In other words, all the things that really matter. Smarter styling will, Fiat hope, seal the deal for many businesses. Let's see if their optimism is justified. Now, you don't expect any van to offer much handling finesse, though most LCVs take corners quite well thanks to the stiff suspension that they need for their large payloads. The flip side of that is a rather stiff, unforgiving ride. Now, come to this Doblo Cargo expecting that, as I did, and you should be pleasantly surprised. The car version of this Doblo model had to develop a much more sophisticated bi-link suspension system to compete with purpose-designed MPVs, and it's a remarkably compliant setup inherited by this cargo van. This vehicle's also got a very tight turning circle, which makes it very manoeuvrable. The turning circle's 10.5 metres. The relatively few businesses who still want petrol power have a 1.4 litre 16 valve unit, but otherwise it's multi-jet diesel all the way, with a choice of 1.3, 1.6 or 2 litre engines. 1.3 offers 90 brake horsepower and 200 newton meters of torque. The 1.6 has 105 brake horsepower and 290 newton meters of torque, while the flagship 2 litre has 135 brake horsepower and a thumping 320 newton meters of torque, and that's a lot of pulling power for a small van. Styling is not high on the priority list for many potential van purchasers, but even so, the looks of the original Doblo Cargo van did put a few businesses off. Now, the original version quickly got a restyled front end, but it's only with this Mark II model that this Fiat has gained a look that really will gain universal acceptance. So, how have the Italians done it? Well, the front A-pillars are blacked out to merge the windscreen and the side windows in a sort of visor effect that really works. Thick bumpers are employed at both ends for added protection, and large wheel arches bulge from the flanks. Inside the smart cabin there's a two-tone option like the one I've got here that I really like because it breaks up all that dark grey plastic. Now, most of the switchgear and the controls are taken from Fiat passenger cars, with the stereo in particular adding a real touch of class. Though there's no optional centre seat of the kind that you get in some rivals, otherwise it's an interior that's pretty hard to fault. You've got a gear stick that is mounted high up, close to the height but not reach adjustable steering wheel, and there's plenty of storage space with a cup holder in front of the handbrake and one behind it. You've also got a glove box that's capable of swallowing a 14-inch laptop, door bins that'll take a half-litre bottle of drink or an A4 clipboard. You've got a storage area on top of the dash here and an overhead storage area for things that you simply can't fit anywhere else. For a compact van, the Doblo Cargo has a wide model range, with prices spanning the usual £11,500 to £16,000 bracket, common to this class of compact LCV. It has a wider, more powerful engine range than you'd find in a rival like, say, Citroen's Berlingo or Peugeot's Partner. And though the Fiat's prices model for model might be a few £100s higher in some cases, it's probably nothing that your local Fiat franchise couldn't match. This is the short wheelbase option. There's also a long wheelbase option and a choice of 2 roof heights. And that gives rise to loading volumes of between 3.4 and 4.2 cubic metres. That's pretty much class leading. Now there are a range of different options, including a combi version with a second row of seats and a platform cab chassis, giving rise to all manner of different body options. Under the bonnet, well, you've got a 1.4 litre petrol or a 1.3 litre multi-jet diesel. Both of those come with a 5-speed gearbox, or this 1.6 litre multi-jet diesel that, like the 2 litre multi-jet diesel flagship, comes with a 6-speed manual gearbox. Now those who, like me, have gone for this 1.6 also have the option of a 5-speed automated Comfortmatic gearbox, which does away with the clutch, so urban-based users can have a much easier time of it in stop-start traffic. Standard equipment on the Cargo includes power steering, a height-adjustable steering wheel, remote central locking, electric front windows, a 12-volt power point, and an MP3 compatible CD stereo. Buyers can also specify Fiat's clever Blue and Me hands-free telephone system, which can also be integrated with a TomTom satellite navigation module at extra cost. Safety-wise, ABS is standard, but the ESP stability control system that'll help you out on slippery surfaces or if you enter a corner too fast is optional across the range. Still, if you specify it, you do get a hill holder clutch, which helps you in uphill junctions, and traction control as part of the package. Fiat's patented fire prevention system is also fitted to all Doblos. It cuts off the fuel flow to the engine in the event of a crash. On to practicality. Now, the payload and loading volume figures for this van need to be significant enough to persuade buyers to pay the extra over a small van like, say, Fiat's own Fiorino. And yet they also need to be able to outsmart direct but larger compact van rivals like Citroen's Berlingo or Peugeot's Partner. Now, the original Doblo Cargo couldn't deliver on either of those fronts, but this one does it in style. You get 750 kilograms as a payload on this short wheelbase Doblo Cargo model. That's nearly 150 kilograms more than something Fiorino sized or something like a Citroen Nemo. While the top of the range Cargo Maxi long wheelbase model manages a payload of around 1,000 kilograms, and that's about 150 kilograms more than Citroen and Peugeot rivals. Okay, what about that other crucial measurement, load volume? Well, here again, this Doblo Cargo is tough to beat. This short wheelbase low roof model delivers 3.4 cubic metres, but I could increase that to 4 cubic metres by ticking the box for the high roof option. If I went for the long wheelbase Cargo Maxi model, then the total figure is 4.2 cubic metres, and that's one that no rival can better. So let's look at it all in a bit more detail. Now, there's the option of a conventional tailgate, but most customers will want the standard asymmetrically split twin rear doors that I've got here. Pull the nice chunky door handle and they open to reveal an aperture that's 1,231 millimeters wide and either 1,250 millimeters high, as in this case, or 1,455 millimeters high if you tick the box for the high roof option. As usual, you can widen the door apertures, and if you've got something heavy to load in, then you'll be pleased to find that there's a reasonably low 545 millimeter loading height over which you've got to lump it. Now, the redesigned suspension has meant some narrower wheel boxes, and there's now 1,230 millimeters of width between these two, easily enough, as you can see, for a standard Euro pallet. Once you get inside, there's 2,170 millimeters of loading length, 1,550 millimeters of loading height, and once you get above the wheel boxes, 1,714 millimeters of loading width. Most owners will want the sliding side door that I've got here, that gives you 1,175 millimeters of height and 700 millimeters of width. On plusher versions and on the Cargo Maxi model, you get sliding side doors on both sides. Fiat have also copied rivals by building in provision for a fold-flat front passenger seat, complete with a swinging out mesh bulkhead so that longer items can be accommodated. It's optional, and talking about optional things for longer items, there are a set of transverse bars that you can specify that bolt on in the top of the load bay here. And that's for things like ladders or long pipes if you're a plumber or you're a decorator. It means that instead of putting them up on a roof rack on top of the car where they might get stolen, or it'll certainly affect the efficiency of the vehicle as you drive along, you can store them inside in what would normally be dead space. And running costs? Well, Fiat's start and stop system is standard, cutting the engine when you're in traffic or you're waiting at the lights, with fuel savings that they claim are up to 15%. And sure enough, the combined consumption figures are impressive, ranging between 40.3 and 58.8 miles to the gallon on that combined cycle, with CO2 figures ranging between 126 and 163 grams per kilometre. Now, if you want to do better than that, there's an optional eco-drive system that requires you only to put a USB stick into the Microsoft port provided, and then once you finish driving, you simply stick it into your office PC, where it'll give you tips on how you can improve the efficiency of your journeys. Now, Fiat say that this can make a big difference to overall running costs. Servicing costs are way ahead of the competition, with the diesel models now only needing servicing every 21,000 miles. Now, in the case of the 1.3 litre multijet, Fiat say that that's cut servicing costs by a massive 34% over 75,000 miles. Not to be sniffed at. Warranty-wise, well, you're looking at the usual 3-year deal with a limit of 120,000 miles, and there's no mileage limit over the first 2 years. Insurance ranges between groups 3 and 5. Now, it was about time that Fiat completed its compact van range with a genuinely competitive contender, and this second generation Doblo Cargo is exactly that. With Fiat's excellent diesel engine range put fully to work, running costs are low, while short and long wheelbase options and a choice of roof heights mean practicality levels are high. And at last, this LCV is properly Italian when it comes to more tactile things like the great looking interior and the sharp styling. As a result of all this, there's little doubt that it'll certainly grow Fiat's business. Try one and you might well feel that it'll grow yours too.